So then, yeah, I guess we can just move on to like, some topics, some short, to the point topics, or just things that we've been really wanting to, just chat about in general, since they're on our mind. They're not particularly hot takes. They're just observations of things.
No, yeah, it's not a rant. I think this week for me, I dipped a toe into the Dragon Ball fandom more or less by accident. I don't follow Super, either the manga really or when the seasons are running. The short point is that it seems like they're gearing up to bring it back next year, the anime, which will probably cover the Moro arc, which is running right now. I don't know very much about it, other than it's been polarizing for some people. But one of the consistent comments that I've seen come out of or bubble out of the Dragon Ball fandom itself is that the Super manga looks good, but there's a lot of nitpicking around individual decisions about what's done with certain characters and so on. What you would expect from a fandom. And I don't begrudge anybody their opinion about this stuff. I certainly have my own opinions about how I would prefer to see some things done in titles and not done in others. Totally fine. One of the weird parts about something as big as Dragon Ball, though, is how much access is given to fans from the creators or the creative staff. I can't. It's hard for me to think of other examples other than like maybe some of like the big MCU movies where there's sort of like there's such a big deal and they're gonna touch so many people that you get this like steady stream of information, backstage stuff while these movies are filming a lot of the time, and so that sort of becomes fodder for rumor mills and prognostication and so on. But to give you a level of like I don't know, like what's happening with the Dragon Ball folks. So, and I didn't know this was true. Apparently, sometimes the editors will release in-progress drafts of certain pages from upcoming chapters. I don't know exactly how or why they are released. It's probably, I think, through like magazine interviews or other things that are happening. But regardless, they get out there. And then those pages, which are unfinished and are really more rough drafts than anything else, get poured over by folks in the community, and they use them to derive, their various theories or figure out where the story is going, and that's fine. But then things are sort of kicked up to another level, which I find very concerning. Just this idea that like because they know who's working on certain items, and because there is still a healthy amount of division about how they want, and I would say they loosely to mean just like the fan community wants certain story elements to be explored or explained, or certain things to happen to certain characters or not happen to others, basically nitpicking every little detail of everything. It turns what is otherwise like I think a fairly intimate look into the creation of a beloved franchise into like a feeding frenzy where, in my opinion anyway, just having dipped my toe in it for a couple of days to see like how people react to this stuff, it's just super unhealthy. Like one example is that it's well known that Toriyama doesn't necessarily handle all of like the paneling or the individual dialogue or anything else. He's really more on like executive producer status, so he'll get stuff sent to him and occasionally he'll like clean up a face or redraw something or make a suggestion about like a line of dialogue, but mostly that's not on him. There's a whole staff behind the Super manga that is taking care of all that stuff, which is cool. The problem becomes when you have like in progress pages coming out and people look at them and say, you know what, I don't like this particular thing that's happening, or the half done rough draft seems to confirm or not confirm a particular fan theory, in which case it sets off a whole a whole side of Twitter, a whole part of YouTube complaining, criticizing, nitpicking. It gets to a point where I wonder if a lot of these people even enjoy the thing that they claim to love so much. because it just, they come off as fans who just don't know how to love anything in a healthy way. So so it's just weird.
Say, as far as like their incessant commenting to the point where it's like detrimental to like the enjoyment of the overall fandom, I honestly think that might come from a place where this might be like, this is one of those things that like they know about the most about, or you have Dragon Ball Z content creators and stuff like that,
right?
And just, I feel like for some people, like that fandom is a key part of their existence and self-worth, and so they go so hard on it simply because like that is the like the focus of their, not to say like their existence, but like, their passion. Like that's the only passion that they have. So then they run the shit into the fucking ground and then are confused when it's a turnoff to others. That's how I see it.
And you're probably right. I just think that if you love something that much, tearing it down before it exists seems like a very...
That's a crazy thing too.
Yeah, it seems like a very destructive way to love a thing. Like, I don't have a problem with piece of art gets produced, fans of that art pick it up, they have a reaction to it, they walk through their reaction. It could be good or bad. It could be toxic or not toxic. They're allowed to have whatever feelings they want to have and express them. I got no issue with that. It's the idea that you're interrupting in sort of like an in-progress activity and in a weird way trying to like steer the ship, but kind of steer it out to the fact, like, think about it. If you get a work in progress page off of the upcoming chapter of your favorite book, right? You kind of see what the author wants to do, what the characters is going on with, what dialogue is there, like all that stuff. Now it's in your hands. Could you imagine like trying to tweet at his editor or her editor to get them to change something that you don't like on a page that you probably shouldn't be commenting on because it's not done anyway? Like, there's just a level of like over the shoulder kind of piloting that I don't agree with as someone who tries to do creative things here and there. Like, it just doesn't work, at best. Even if these creators were being directly responsive to fans, I don't think that would necessarily generate a better product. Like, everyone, if you're a Dragon Ball head, mad people are pissed that Gohan sucks. This is a known thing. Yelling at Toriyama or his editors to like change a line of dialogue or not have him get like bitched out off of one move in some chapter of the upcoming manga is not going to fix that problem anyway. So like, why do it? Why go down that road? Why not just like love the parts that you love and then be irritated by the parts that irritate you, and don't pretend like you've got this agency that you don't have. You can review, but beyond that, I don't know. It was just a whole... I never really get into fandom, so to dip my toe into those waters at all just left me with a bad taste in my mouth. The only thing I can think of that is comparable in my own life to that is that I'm into like professional wrestling, and so I know for a fact that wrestling fans are among the worst like fans of anything that you'll ever find because they hate wrestling more than they love it for the most part.
What?
Yeah, it's a whole thing. But I actually don't think that's unusual. It's like familiarity breeds contempt, right? Like you're so into something and you've created in your own head rules about how it's supposed to be done that more or less are like your interests, but not necessarily like what is the best idea for a performance, right? Like, and I know that you do voice, so you would understand that like there might be someone who prefers a certain type of singing or a certain type of song construction or vocal range, and then when they don't get it, they think that anything that's not doing it is bad, whereas it's just their interest.
Yeah, it's a lot of these people running these programs,
of course. So I think that like that's the difficult part, where Dragon Ball is like I don't know if it must have grossed many billions. I don't know what the net of the entire franchise is, but it's a multi-billion-dollar entertainment franchise. There's a reason why it makes a lot of money, and the things that might make Dragon Ball a better story or make the characters more interesting or make more sense may not necessarily be the things that make the most money. So there's also like that part of it too, which you see in all fandoms, which is a lot of the fixes that people have aren't necessarily economically viable ones, right? Like, we hate this character, kill her off. Maybe that character sells a lot of merchandise. So no, we're not going to do that.
So no.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
So I
case in point, Goku.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the Goku saga, the multiple. I mean, for example, if you go play Dragon Ball FighterZ, like, fighting games don't have big audiences. Dragon Ball FighterZ sold a lot of copies, mostly on the back of the fact that it was Dragon Ball. You know, like, there's a hardcore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. There is a hardcore community. There's a competitive community, but they would probably account for less than 10% of all the sales of that game. So when they go to like monetize that game and sell character packs and other things, it's not a surprise that there are like 8 different Gokus in that game, because every time they release one,
it's like
people are gonna buy it.
And I do buy it. I still bought it.
Yeah. And you know, some people like joke about it, but could you imagine if like there really was a contingent of folks who were screaming at the developers, stop adding Gokus, add my favorite character that was in one movie that isn't even canon anymore. They would be so cool. Like, no, they're going to do what is economically viable. Like, these things cost money to make. They cost time to make. So they need to make their money back if they're going to invest in it. And people buying Gokus are not going to buy fucking, I don't know, Pan, who I love, right? But like, no, they're not going to put Pan in the game before the Ultra Instinct Goku. Get the fuck out of here.
So hard. They ignore her.
Yeah.
There's no way she's getting it. What, GT Pan?
Yeah, GT Pan. They already put GT Goku in, so it's like, why not? But the point is, like, I'm not going to pretend like there aren't other considerations that go into how things are done and why things are done that go beyond just what makes a story better or what I would personally like. And I just want to find a healthy fandom. Can we get like the BTS fandom to like move over into other places? What? Aren't they nicer? Don't they do like social justice stuff? No, they're bad. I mean, okay, they're all bad.
No, they do social justice stuff, but the BTS stands are
they ruthless?
Oh, they're ruthless. Are you kidding me?
Who's not ruthless? So they're like Blackpink or somebody?
I don't know. I feel like the Blackpink stands are pretty, chill. But what I see a lot with a lot of like, K-pop stands or especially with the BTS stands is that if you say anything like critiquingly about them, they will come into your mentions and drag you, and basically they'll be like, you're racist towards Asians.
Oh no.
Like, they're like, the most popular group in the world. How could you not like them unless you're a racist? And blah blah. Like, it's pretty wild. Like, I had a friend who made a video about the MTV Music Awards or something, and apparently BTS performed there, and he didn't even put it in the description of his video. He didn't mention BTS anywhere, but I guess one of his followers is a BTS stan, and they circulated his video, and the BTS stans came to his comment section, and literally they were like, you're ignorant, you don't appreciate good music, this, that.
Oh, because he did not mention BTS?
No, because... Well, no, he mentioned them. He just said that he didn't really care for their performance.
Gotcha.
But when he advertised the video, BTS was nowhere to be found. The only way you knew that he spoke about BTS is if you watched the whole video.
Oh, so they were talking that. So they took it as he's talking that shit. Well, okay, BTS people, I have no hate. I love me some beautiful boys. Let them go do their thing. I got no problems. Wherever the healthy fan community is, I don't know because I've yet to find it. But like,
a healthy fan community.
We gotta like encourage some folks to like really step back. Also, the idea that like there are and I know this is true, but like content creators whose entire worlds revolve around one franchise of anything. Oh boy, that's kind of dangerous, to be honest. I don't know. I guess like you could. Dragon Ball's probably makes the most sense. I don't know what the actual like uptake on that audience really is, but they're out there. But like I know some One Piece folks who are like they're they don't seem all that terrible. But
yeah, I mean, maybe it's the one of those. It's the loud minority thing.
Oh, sure, certainly.
Like there are tons of people in the fandom, but like these ones, are they just can't shut the fuck up, and they just keep getting, whether it be an algorithm or it's, what, shock and outrage, they sell. And I don't know what they're trying to sell, but it's like, if those people are the ones that are just going to be screaming from the rooftops continually, eventually someone's going to be like, this guy's always yelling about this, come laugh at this. And then in actuality, it's like, oh, well, actually, I agree with him. Like, we should have this more in fandom, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, well, and it's a circle jerk.
Yeah, I didn't realize like how much I don't know, energy there was in like theory crafting for anything. Like,
oh, people love that shit.
Yeah, and I should have known. The quick sort of aside. So about 10 or 12 years ago, I, along with a few other folks, wrote and developed a game. And I was both a designer and the writer. And so I wrote a lot of the lore behind it. And I thought it was fun. I was in college. I was fooling around. I enjoyed it. I was trying to, just get more experience writing. And, it was not, I would say like now, 10 years later, it's not my best work at all. But it was cool for what it was. And it's weird. It's a very surreal feeling to like go onto a message board and see people debating over ideas and concepts that you came up with and trying to like fit them into bigger and broader, I don't know, theories. And you just sort of like, it's cute on one end, but it's also a little like eerie on the other. So I don't know, like that. I've had a little bit of a brush with that, but it wasn't on the level of like, going onto YouTube and finding creators with hundreds of thousands or millions of views in a panel format going over my decision to like draw one character's arm slightly bigger than the other, or like whatever. Like they were arguing about like some dude getting a senzu bean and like, wouldn't it be good if Goku just like ripped his throat out and took the like? I was like, no, no.
What?
I'm not gonna get into it. Whatever. It is what it is.
I can see, but then at the end of the day, that all that is still just like, a what if. It's like, I guess for me personally, I only have so much energy to put into something until like the next thing comes out. And then I'm like, oh, okay. So that thing that I said actually came true. So these are the 30 other things that I think might happen based off of this. Or I can be like, I'm completely wrong and I don't know what the fuck is going to happen, but I'm going to enjoy the ride.
Right. Imagine going like 10 levels deep on like Boruto theory crafting.
Only for you to be continually disappointed.
Right.
Regularly.
Like, yeah. If a lot of these people are so creative, they might as well just make their own stuff. Like, they're not stupid. Just go write your own thing. Well, it would be cool.
That's true. But then also you have to like consider that like those people either don't have the same drive or they just don't want. Yeah. I guess it comes down to drive and like, do they have the same capabilities to produce a similar product?
Yeah,
because there are definitely people out there who are doing it. Like there are people who are just like, especially a lot of Black creators, like there are a lot of like Black anime content creators out there making their own like manga, like, and it's a lot of it looks good. I have not read the majority of it, but like if there are people out there who do that, and you can see the influences from other series, and you can also simultaneously see them not basically being like, oh yeah, I'm circle jerking off of this shit and this is going to be a complete carbon copy of something else. Because I actually was in a streamer's stream the other day, and of course I was watching someone play Genshin Impact, and the Cannon Busters came up. And the guy said, I have a lot of thoughts about Cannon Busters, and this was a Black streamer. And I basically commented, and I was just like, Cannon Busters did what it did. Like, it did some things right, but a lot of it was just, him copying anime tropes. And they were like, actually, I completely agree. That's one of the best ways that I've heard someone put it. It's just that, like, it lacked individuality. like it wasn't his own creation. It kind of was just like, okay, these are like the character templates that I have, and then okay, what are some of the most like popular themes or story arcs or something from like some of the most classic or like currently banging anime. All right, I'm going to incorporate that into my story while at the same time completely ignoring all of your original characters.
Right, and this kind of goes to what and by the way, I've heard a couple pronunciations now, so I should probably look it up. Is it JJ Akutami or Gege Akutami? I'm not sure. I think I've heard JJ Akutami, but anyway, the woman behind Jujutsu Kaisen, like her POV on a lot of like what's come before is, okay, look at these characters, look at these dynamics, here's stuff that works, let's try to fix up some of the things that partially worked but failed for reasons that she or other people identified, and put a different spin on it. I think that's a pretty fair way to move forward. I mean, and you see it in art all the time. That's what the sort of sequential evolution really should be, is that you try to address issues, not just copy them. Like, you can love Dragon Ball, but it doesn't mean that if you're given the opportunity to write something for yourself, you just write worse Dragon Ball.
What keyword worse?
Yeah,
Dragon Ball.
And I'm saying worse in the sense of you're not addressing any of the problems or advancing any of the ideas anywhere. Derivative and not as creatively unique is what I'm saying is worse. But worse could also be, written poorly. It could also be, missing some essential element, or even just being like trying to write the same story but doing it second. I know that a lot of people didn't know anything about Journey to the West, and as a result they see Dragon Ball first and then see the original stories translated in like a Chinese movie or something else and think that, oh well, this is just a ripoff of Dragon Ball. Right, yep. Which is not. Remember there was a Sun Wukong movie that came out a couple years ago in China that was big enough that they previewed it in American theaters. I don't know if it ever had a wide release in the US, but like if you went to the YouTube comments, people were like, oh, the Chinese are just ripping off Dragon Ball, where's Goku? Like, it was so stupid. But, that's their fault. That's not the creator's fault.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a...
Well, on another note, I guess I would say, speaking of like, healthy fandoms or healthy fandom practices, one of the best ways to get me to not want to be interested in your fandom is for your fandom to be non-stop spoiler posters all over. And I definitely understand that, when you are researching certain things, like, you can't help but be spoiled because, if someone has a power up that's permanent and you're like a couple volumes in, of course, yeah, you're going to see that. But I had like a recent spoiler with The Promised Neverland that I was on a thread that had nothing to do with Promised Neverland. It had something to do with just like, what was it? It was something about people posting like, what anime character that they like thought that they looked like or whatever. And so, people were posting things, and the person that posted the spoiler didn't even post their own picture. They posted the spoiler and they said, "Oh my God, can you believe this happened?" And it kind of was just like, well,
I guess now I have to. Great.
Yeah. And also, like, what are you doing in this thread? Like, you wanted to spoil it so bad that you came on a completely foreign Twitter thread to talk about it, as opposed to going into the fandom where there are plentiful people for you to already talk to about. So that in and of itself, I'm kind of just like, is this what you niggas do with this kind of stuff? Like, y'all just drop in the spoilers, because one of the main draws of The Promised Neverland is the story and like, what could happen in the future, stuff like that. And when you do things like that, it kind of turns people off, because me, myself, I'm not going to be turned off for it because I love that fucking show. But someone else, they might see that stuff and be like, oh, well, they just be dropping spoilers all over the place. So, I'm not going to get the full experience because I probably have seen things that I shouldn't have seen. from jump.
Yeah, spoiler culture is a tough one because you have the if you go back even to for a lot of people in our generation, what were the sort of the touchstone media stuff? It was Harry Potter, and then just prior to that, the Lord of the Rings movies, things that were like big cultural sensations, but they were based on stuff that was already very popular and may have been just getting adapted late. But I remember being 10 years old, 9 years old at the library. Oh, remember the library? And reading Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit and thinking they were the best thing I'd ever read and being so excited about it. And maybe I was the only person that I knew for a while who had read those books, but they were important to me. And then you fast forward 5 or 6 years and you start to get movies that are popular, that are based on that thing, and you want to go in and you want to talk about it. You want to share your excitement for things that are yet to happen, scenes that you hope that they bring to the big screen. And there is a tension because there's a new set of fans, maybe people who weren't familiar with the books, or maybe they're getting into the books but they're just doing it contemporaneously with the movie. The same goes for Harry Potter, which I was not into, but a lot of people around me were. Where it's hard to figure out what the line is. Now I know if something is if some people say, oh well, it's about how long ago was something published, right? But honestly, probably that's a bad standard. I mean, if you want to be surprised by what happens in the Return of the King, and that's a book that has existed for 60 years, it would still suck if somebody came up to you and kind of took away your agency to be surprised and amazed by what's going on by then telling you, well, and laying out the story of at the battle of blah 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 blah, this is what happens,
which they do.
People do that. They absolutely do it. But I think that for me, I've never been someone who you could tell me the whole story, you could give everything away. I'm not going to be any less excited to see the thing. I don't necessarily want to be spoiled, but I've never had a spoiler event happen where I was man, now I can't watch this thing and enjoy it just as much as I would have without it. If I'm into something, I'm into it. But what bothers me more is not losing out on the excitement. It's the fact that this person didn't consider me, didn't consider that maybe I wanted to have a certain experience that they didn't have or didn't think was important.
They got to enjoy themselves,
right?
But
and some people, they don't. That what makes them get into a show or a series or any kind of media may not be the surprise. It may be the fulfillment of a certain feeling that they want. So I know people who won't watch shows if they think that a character is not going to grow and have a very specific type of moment. They could, if something is a classic Greek tragedy, and what they really want is the moment of the character beating the bad guy, when in fact it's the whole purpose of the thing is to get to the denouement, right? It's to have the catharsis, and then maybe the person dies or something bad happens. They will completely throw away a series, a movie, a book if they think that they're not going to get that. This actually came up with Jujutsu Kaisen, where there were people complaining on the internet after episode 1 that because Yuji Itadori starts the series super strong physically, that they felt like they weren't going to get moments of him going through power growth that would be important enough for them to warrant watching it. Right? Now, I'm not going to go and spoil them and say, well, actually, this is what's going to happen to him, so you should watch it. But, I don't like the idea that, you can have your own standard for what you enjoy and then not think that other people might have a different one. So when you go out and promote your faves, you only take your own enjoyment into account in how you do it. And I think that's what leads to a lot of the bad behavior around spoilers, is just a lack of consideration. So I will always get angry about that, even if it doesn't ruin my actual enjoyment of whatever it is.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. But still, stop it.
Yeah, don't
stop
do that.
Especially if y'all. Stop it.
Be selective, right? Don't you want to be the guy who, or girl, or in between, who wanted and was able to create this great environment where a person that you know or don't know is now excited for something that you're excited about. Don't you want to create more of those moments rather than take them away? I don't want to be the person that like made someone not enjoy the thing that I enjoy, right? Like that would suck because that's one less person that now I can vibe with and talk about how cool this or that other thing is. If I ran them off because I was an inconsiderate piece of shit and told them the ending of their favorite story and that's the one thing that would get them to not finish it, like, nah, fuck that. Be nice. Just think about other people.